Hi, I'm Daniel Lane Standig, and welcome to our 19-minute podcast, Innovation 19. Today we're talking with Zenka Caro. She's a futurist, specializing in augmented reality, data visualization, and most interestingly, human consciousness. She specializes in designing self-organizing software systems, which can move us from the information age into what she calls the wisdom age, a time of greater self-awareness. She prototypes systems for everything from hardware sharing in Argentina to quantifying consciousness shifts around the globe. Zenka's passion and exuberance for the possibilities the future holds is endless, and I'm sure that'll come across in our talk today. Zenka, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
All right, you've done a lot of work with the Spatial Web. What is the Spatial Web, and how is it evolving?
We weren't meant to use computers on a flat screen. We're in this kind of baby antiquated phase of that. So the spatial web is where we're going to be putting on glasses and everything around us is going to be data rich. So you might have a virtual assistant that actually stands next to you and talks to you. You might, obviously we're going to go through phases. So pretty soon websites are not going to feel flat. We're going to have web VR, right? So you're going to, almost like a game, you'll be able to walk and see a bookshelf that looks and feels real. You can pick out the books that you want to read, and then they'll be in your Amazon cart or whatever. So we're really, humans aren't made to interact in flat surfaces. We're made to touch things and move and interact. And it will also trick our brain in a way to a different experiential level that we're not used to. And it's going to make things really exciting. Even today, I can't seem to talk to anyone anymore without a camera. We've been Zooming so much. So, imagine one step deeper. And the experiential part of Zoom is really great because the video is helping us there.
So hearing you talk, I have this vision that there's a lot of innovation coming with wearable tech.
We've been waiting. It's like, where's the flying car kind of thing in the AR VR space. But, it really is coming more quickly now. And I think that, wearable tech is already starting to be a part of our lives. And this is what's so fascinating, is that it's going beyond what our human mind can understand. So your watch or your wearable might know that you feel emotional about something before you do, right? So it's this, our inner world is starting to become our outer world. And this tech is so fascinating to get to know ourselves, to calm ourselves, and to enjoy this experience.
So you recently started something called the PassionBased Economy. Tell us about it.
I recently launched a project called the PassionBased Economy, which takes end users that want to create new prototypes for the world, and it matches them up with companies and the government to try to sidestep the money equation and say, what do you need to get this prototype off the ground? I need this software. Okay, boom. Most of it gets donated, a little bit of money is raised, and then that person has a prototype to go start an impact business or create an open source template for others to use.
Any insight on some of the participation so far?
We've got a hydroponic food garden. We've got a mural project where we're asking art collectors to stop buying dead artists for 3 years and support living artists. We've got a massive shipping container spaceship community center. And we're also doing one of my projects to organize collective intelligence.
Organizing collective intelligence. Some people would say collective intelligence is an oxymoron. How do you think about collecting intelligence and, I guess, a term that you would call citizen science?
A lot of people are dealing with healing and trauma and just in general, wanting to make changes in their lives. And search engines seem not to always have the best solutions. For addiction or depression, you've got 5 pills they're going to give you, and then you're going to be taking those the rest of your life. So citizen science offers a whole new perspective on what's working for who. Like, is tapping working? Is equitherapy working? What's working? And if we knew that, we could help each other get forward toward living our best lives, or whatever the context is. So I really think that we need a way for us to share information. Everyday people aren't going to read through, documents, and the search engines aren't going to tell us what's actually working, because there's too many middlemen involved. So we really need platforms.
I mean, it's a good point. A lot of people end up going to Reddit for practical advice.
And I realized with technology, stuff is changing so much. Even the people with VR didn't know what the headsets could do. It's like, we've got to share information, and we need to do that. We need to have a platform that lets us do that statistically so we can move more quickly.
And you have a new site and community where people can share information like this.
It's called Exo Metaverse. You can check it out at exometaverse.org. And it's servicing the Exo community, so the people that are interested in galactic narratives.
Okay, you went there. You used the word galactic. So here's the deal. There has been a total resurgence in the public discussion of aliens. Area 51 raid, recent documentaries on HBO Max and Amazon. A former Israeli space security chief actually said that Earthlings have been in contact with extraterrestrials from a galactic federation, and that there's all kinds of information about life out there. So you obviously believe that that's true.
Yeah, I used to be like, oh, come on, are you serious? Like I was thinking of them like, well, we'd have to get into way distant, we'd have to have ships that would get us way distant planets to even find them and make contact. Where are they? And then I realized that there's a whole new construct in which we could think about this. Like, what if they do say, string theory says that there are multiple dimensions and we're just in one of them. So it could be that different dimensions are superimposed on this one. It also could be that we as a collective human species can experience whatever we want. If we want to experience war, we'll experience war. If we want to experience ET contact, we'll build the ships and the methods to do that. So it's kind of choose your own adventure here. And there's so many people and so many documentation. The US government, as you mentioned, is starting to, they rebranded it to UAPs, instead of UFOs, but like, we need to rebrand everything, because it's like, it's like alien attack. No, they're advanced and they're more loving.
Such an Earthling thing to do. Like, we have alien contact, we create a brand for it.
Yeah, so it's gonna, and I can imagine if there was, a more public, deeper physical representation of them, like I can imagine what the news media is gonna do with that, you know what I mean?
So Zenka, you've been a part of a number of projects where you're trying to quantify consciousness or our evolution of our spirituality. And when I think of spirituality, I think of something that's given to you by God, not something that is easily measurable in human terms or, on some type of abacus. So how do you reconcile this?
Yeah, consciousness is kind of like, it is this like slope, right? You're never done and you're always have started. We're all in this, mind expanding way of seeing the world.
But how do you measure the expansion of consciousness?
Well, okay, so I'm doing it in a couple of ways. So I decided to take 600 of the biggest influencers in the world and track their social networks and see how the growth was happening. So their Facebook, their YouTube. So we're collating all that data. We're also looking at Google Trends. We're looking at Google search terms. We're looking at how we are as, in mass, so to speak. So that's an indicator. The other indicator is really, our Dawkins came up with the scale of vibration and frequency, right? With like shame at the bottom, which, Brene Brown has been hitting that one, right? We all feel that, right? All the way up to joy, and like, enlightenment. So we're going to have ways to actually measure our state. Obviously, we move in and out of states because the life is a roller coaster. But the idea is to be constantly more positive and loving in our lives and more accepting of what is, right? More in surrender and enjoy. But I think we're actually going to be able to physically measure that, and you can kind of do that with wearables. It's like when you get mad, because we all do, can you breathe and calm yourself?
Yeah, like your wearable could say, hey, you're escalating, you're getting angry, breathe now.
That is mindfulness. That is consciousness. That's a step to creating your best life.
I can totally see how this becomes controversial because how do you measure somebody's enlightenment? I mean, it's almost like in environmental and social governance, we try to measure a company's enlightenment. And when you look at those ratings, the ESG ratings, I mean, there is a lot to call out and be suspect about.
You don't want to be pointing fingers like that person is not as, woke as I am. That's lame, right?
No doubt.
But I think that already you can see that corporate culture has massively changed. The millennials want something else. They want purpose-driven companies. All of a sudden, all the companies were just like, okay, we're doing bottom line, stockholder, you know what I mean? That was the benchmark, the profit. And now if you cannot be a big company today and not have a social impact message or a mission. You can't just be making money. Nobody will work for you. Nobody will buy your stuff. There has to be a bigger story.
I get that. And personally, I'm passionate about conscious capitalism. But there are executives who say, if you want to work for a purpose-driven company, go get a job at United Way, because here our purpose is profit.
So if they want to be a pure entity of pure that's fine. They're leading their own ship, and the ships around them will fill in the gaps. But I think we'll find that, they say it's you can give someone a raise and that's not even what they want. They want perks. You know what I mean? So money really in this new age isn't everything. It's about experience. Companies are looking to find their story, right?
I mean, really kind of like people.
And that's a great process. So I think, we're all at different places. You know what I mean? We're all at different, some companies are going 1,000 miles one way, with just the profit. That's okay. They're in a different place. They've got more to turn, they've got more to accommodate. But we have to be very loving and accepting of where everybody is and just realize that we're all in this together, and this is going to be a fun adventure. It's not going to be easy, but we can get the world on track.
Zenka, not every day you talk to a technologist who's interested in consciousness. So where did this all start for you?
Well, I have not been in that field my whole life. I didn't know what a chakra was. I didn't know what Reiki was. I didn't know anything. So I had an experience. Someone did Reiki on me, and then I woke up the next day and I realized that the world was a lot different than I had realized. So it was a very, brusque time for me. And I scrambled. I said, wow, this is very interesting. And it got me thinking, technology is just technology. And, what we do with it is what's so important. So we're in the midst of a really interesting time where people are expanding their minds. They're stepping into their passion more. They're, riding the magic carpet of their life. And wow, I never knew this was possible, when I follow my heart or move forward. So it's really a time where we're recalibrating our worldview. We're looking at things differently. We're realizing what is possible. And technology is going to speed us along that path. And I'm an optimist when it comes to technology. It is a double-edged sword, but I feel like things are going in the right way for people to really share information in a way that they haven't before, that's going to change the world for the better.
Zenka, there are going to be people who listen to this podcast who are like, you know what, I'm not so much into the chakra or consciousness kind of thing, but they can definitely feel your palpable charisma and enthusiasm. You have found something you're really passionate about. And we live at this time when people are really, I think, by and large, questioning whether they're living on the right path. Are they doing something that they really love? So what advice do you have for people around pursuing their passions?
Well, it is a moving target, and you might be passionate about one thing one day, and these days, careers can change on a nickel, especially as we're having to be so flexible. So Stephen Kotler of the Flow Genome Project recently put out a project which he shares about passion, and it talks about some steps that you can take where you list all the things that you're curious about, because curiosity is that kind of needle point that you can hit that will get you into flow. And he says that if you ride that curiosity and then look at how those curiosity points intersect. Well, I'm interested in this and this and this. He says, be very specific. Don't just write, oh, I'm curious about tennis. Write very specific things, and then take those and then start researching, and then put yourself into those spaces. Join a meetup and start there. So that will really drive you. And I've found that true in my life too.
Well, I love your passion for sure. As you're talking, I'm thinking about how much abundance there is. There's no limitation of capital for a good idea. There's no limitation of real estate or scarcity of real estate in a virtual world. So what on this planet do you see as scarce? What's our most valuable resource today?
Well, it's weird because the Tofflers, they were futurists, and they would write one book every 10 years and interview the leaders of the world, the scientists, the thinkers, and they believed that we were, they said money was power, then they said force, aggression, like military power was power. And now they say that knowledge is power. So we're kind of entering a new phase right now where I would say knowledge and cooperation are starting to become powerful, right? Because things are going to get kind of rocky, and you're going to need. I lived in Argentina for 10 years, and they're very connected and help each other. It's like at some point we're going to have to realize that we're all in this together. We're going to have to problem solve together. And I think we have enough knowledge on this planet right now to solve all our present problems 10 times over in a very short amount of time. So it's about sharing knowledge with each other and helping each other, this is kind of a crazy way to think about it, but it could be that abundance is kind of unlimited. So it's not like you're taking from someone else, you're receiving. So we need to be aware that we're all worthy of a great life, and we're all worthy of receiving our born inheritance, right? To receive what we need, And I think there's this, this phrase that goes around. It's like, it's never enough and more is better. That's not the phrase we're going to be walking into the future with. It's like, accumulation is fear. You know what I mean? They say in Argentina, the best place to store your extra food is in the stomach of your next door neighbor. You know what I mean? So it's like, we've got to be in flow, and we're going to do that when we realize, when we connect with ourselves, and with each other, with knowledge. So
living on Earth, it's pretty much a guarantee that there's going to be chaos, but we're going to be okay.
We're going to be okay. And we just have to trust and just bring your best self to your world, and you'll see everything blossom around you, and you'll have what you need.
Zenka, it's such a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much for coming to Innovation 19.
Well, thanks for the work that you're doing too, Daniel. This is, an incredibly fast moving train, and you are helping us all on board onto the magic and mystery of technology is moving quickly. So thank you so much for all the work you're doing. It's incredible.
Thank you for listening to Innovation 19. If you like what you heard today, please consider leaving a review, subscribing, and sharing with friends who might enjoy.